Ladies, gentlemen, and Vault Hunters of all ages, one of the most enjoyable parts of any Borderlands game is the absolute absurdity of the weapons. And while there are definitely purple weapons in Borderlands 4 that are on par with Legendaries, if not even stronger, nothing can compare to the absolute wackiness of a legendary weapon and the unique effects that they have. Not to mention Legendaries in the other slots too. So today we're going to go over 10 of the best Legendaries in Borderlands 4, talk about exactly what they do, how they work, and most importantly, how to actually get them. Because if you aren't aware, the vast majority of legendary items in the game have a dedicated drop source, meaning that there is one boss that you can fight in the game who has a significantly heightened chance of dropping that legendary. And so while farming these items might not be quick or easy, it is pretty much guaranteed if you have the knowledge and at least a little bit of patience and perseverance. Starting off today then with what seems to be universally agreed upon to be just one of the strongest things possible in the game, the Hot Slugger shotgun. This is a one-shot Jakobs shotgun, which already gives it synergies for a few different builds, but even outside of that, it is also just a slug shotgun, meaning that instead of firing a ton of small pellets with spread, it fires one single projectile that is relatively accurate even at range. The legendary effect, Blazing Barrel, is the cherry on top here, giving you 30% bonus damage from all sources for 10 seconds after you kill an enemy, which stacks up to 3 times, which is of course then a total of 90% bonus damage, which is crazy strong. And as if that wasn't enough, this gun has a somewhat hidden extra effect where if you manually touch the reload button after you shoot, you can reload the gun way faster than if you let it go automatically. It like doubles your DPS potential with the weapon entirely, and it's incredible. As for how to get this one, it is dropped by Kairos, who is the boss at the end of the Craven's Nook ordered bunker over in the heart of the mountain area of the Terminus Range region. Once you clear the bunker initially, you can then just play the Encore machine on loop until it actually drops from the boss. Second up then, let's talk about a fairly popular shield legendary, which is Fireworks. This is a level 42 version of it, so don't think about the damage scaling too much in comparison to my level 50 stuff, as it will only go up when you get to higher levels. But this fires off a barrage of really powerful homing missiles anytime that you get a kill while you have this equipped. Otherwise, it is just a fairly decent armor shield, nothing crazy, but that main legendary effect in itself is very powerful just for every character, especially earlier on in the game, and you can get this one very early. But it can also be a part of some pretty major late game synergies too. As for where you get this one, you may already know about it because it's the most farmed boss in the game so far, Splash Zone. This is the first boss that you will fight after the actual opening tutorial, and it is just part of the proper story missions. He's just down here to the very south of the Fade Fields area, go to his Encore machine, and then farm him on repeat until you have the legendary drop. Next up, let's talk about Hellfire, and this thing is incredibly strong, and funnily enough, the red text on it is a Rage Against the Machine reference, but if you use this against machine-based enemies, you'll be pretty disappointed in it, because this weapon is all about incendiary damage. Specifically, it is an incendiary SMG, but it has a wicked strong incendiary status that it applies compared to others that you might find in the wild, at least as far as SMGs go, which makes it great for any status-focused build when you're dealing with red health bar enemies. For the sake of clarity, there is one randomized modifier roll on this weapon, which on mine is the Ripper rocket launcher, which is pretty solid as well. As for how to get this weapon, Hellfire is a dedicated drop from the Skyspanner Crotch boss, which is located in the Lambent Mine within the Cuspid Climb area of the Terminus Range region. This is one that you can't fight until you have done the story mission that he's a part of, so you can't farm until after you've done that, but afterwards you can come back whenever you want and then use the Encore machine again on repeat. Fourth today, we've got the Linebacker legendary Torgue shotgun. This fires bouncing rocket projectiles that explode on contact with an enemy, but if they hit terrain, they will instead bounce. For every bounce they do, the damage and explosion radius of the projectiles is increased, and there is no listed upper limit for this, which means in a really confined space, you could do some pretty shilly shenanigans with it. But honestly, more than anything, I just love myself a good rocket shotgun with a funny effect, so I felt the need to include this here, and I just know that people will find ways to make this thing go crazy in an endgame build. As for where to get it, that's pretty easy for this one. It's another dedicated drop from the Skyspanner Crotch boss in the Lambent Mines that we just talked about for the previous weapon as well. That said, 5th up then, let's go over the Swarm Grenade. This is a personal favorite of mine. It is loud as hell, so prepare yourself if you use headphones while playing, but it essentially is a repeatedly respawning homing grenade. You throw it, it tracks an enemy, it explodes into 3 grenades that then also track enemies, and then when those grenades explode, they also each explode into 3 more grenades that also track enemies. If you get this grenade early, it will just carry all mobbing sections of the game for ages. It just instantly creams all smaller enemies, and there are both so many of the grenades because of the fact that they multiply and burst, and the fact that they home in on enemies. The fact that they are tracking makes it fantastic and pretty much automatic once you throw it. It has some randomness on the possible modifiers on the grenade too, past the guaranteed legendary effect of course. As for how to get this one, it is a dedicated drop from Sydney Pointylegs, the boss of the Prospects drill site activity in the Hungering Plain area of the Fadefield region. This week, Sydney Pointylegs is also the Moxxi Big Encore boss too if you've already finished the story, which means that you can choose to spend Iridium to fight a harder version of this boss for slightly higher loot drop rates as well, and theoretically higher chances at legendaries like this one as well. Moving on then, we've got another personal favorite weapon of mine, Oscar Mike. I found this weapon twice in my initial playthrough through the game while leveling up, and both times that I found it, it sort of trivialized boss fights for the next like 5 to 10 levels, and it is just as silly at endgame. This weapon itself is a reference to Battleborn, the defunct MOBA that Gearbox made years ago that personally I did quite enjoy, but past that it has 2 legendary effects on it. It can spawn as a cryo or kinetic weapon, which is nice to have the option. The more normal legendary effect that it has is the first 50% of your magazine does 50% bonus damage, which is pretty nice, sure, but the big thing for this is the underbarrel space laser attachment, and you are reading those numbers correctly. Nearly 12,000 damage every 0.2 seconds while it's active. Use this underbarrel on a stationary target, and they will melt instantly, with the only real negative of it at all being that it has a somewhat long cooldown. As for how to get this one for yourself, it is a dedicated drop from Gen 1. This boss is unlocked after you complete the Fault Finding side quest in the Carcadia Burns region. This is where his rematch box location is on the map in case you have already killed him, otherwise you do have to do that side quest first. 7th then today, let's get into some Rainbow Vomit. I definitely could have worded that better. This is a really fun and funky Jakobs elemental shotgun, or I guess multi-elemental shotgun. This fires out 6 pellets, but instead of normal pellets, they are beautiful, shiny, rainbow elemental globs, and the specific 3 elements that it rolls with are seemingly random. Mine has corrosive, incendiary, and shock, so it splits its damage between all 3 of these damage types at the same time. This means it is a really nice sort of one-size-fits-all type of weapon for those who have lots of boost to general elemental damage, but want to be able to deal with any enemy type without having to swap to a different weapon. As for how to get this one, it's one of the dedicated drops for the leader Willem boss. This is where he's located on your map if you've already killed him in Carcadia Burns, but to unlock this boss to begin with, you do have to complete a relatively lengthy side quest chain. Elect the Electee is the first side quest for this, just right in Carcadia City, and then it eventually ends with the quest The Mole's Gambit, which you take in the same place. This is where you will fight leader Willem as a boss for the first time, and after you hand in the side quest, you can then return here and spam respawn him through the machine and fight him over and over again for his dedicated drops. 8th up then, let's talk about a legendary rep kit called Warpaint. There aren't too many legendary rep kits in the game, and for a lot of builds you'll usually find yourself using an offensive focused rep kit because the rep kit offensive effects are generally quite strong. That said, the actual legendary rep kits are pretty much just mostly focused on defense, except for Warpaint. This is pretty much the only offensive legendary rep kit. The effect on it is that it gives you 30% bonus fire rate and movement speed after you use it. It does have a large cooldown, but it loses 2 seconds of that cooldown each time that you take damage, and this is essentially just a Mad Max reference through and through the entire way, even the way that it works, but it makes for a pretty solid item within the game too, especially if you like fire rate and movement speed of course as well. As for how to get this one, it's one of the dedicated drops for another drill site boss, this one being Saddleback, who is the boss of the Old Scrape drill site, located in the southern edge of the Terminus Range region, pretty much right where it connects with the Fadefields region. 9th today, we've got Lucian's Flank, and this is mostly for anyone who has the ability to scale off of fire rate, like some of the extremely strong Harlow builds that are out there right now. This is a 14.4 fire rate assault rifle with an extra barrel attachment to increase the fire rate significantly, and then at higher levels it can roll with 2 licensed parts as well. Jakobs is an awesome roll on this. Ripper isn't great for my purposes at least, but it is neat to know that it can drop with this too, and the main legendary effect for the weapon is that critical hits refill up to 2 ammo in the gun's magazine. This is sadly not quite as powerful as it sounds on paper, because there seems to be some sort of brief internal cooldown on this, so you can't just infinitely fire with crits. You don't get ammo back every time that you crit, but it still extends the magazine a pretty reasonable amount, on top of just being an incredibly high fire rate weapon that already has a massive magazine to begin with. As for how to get it, this one is also one of the dedicated drops for Saddleback, the boss of the old scrape drill site that we just talked about, which makes things nice and tidy here. Then finally today I want to talk about somewhat generally about legendary enhancements. A lot of the legendaries in Borderlands 4 have been found, and the community has worked out the dedicated drop sources for the majority of them as well. But one thing that you may not know is that there are legendary enhancements. These aren't unique for the same reasons as legendaries, but instead because they just have 2 of the normal main enhancement effects. This is the only one of them that I've seen myself. It has the free charger and ammo generator order enhancement effects both at the same time, but it only gets 2 stat increases. So basically, purple order enhancements get 1 of these effects but 3 stat bonuses. Legendaries get 2 of the effects at the same time and 2 stat bonuses. But if you get the right effects to roll together, like on a Jakobs enhancement, you can in theory get the enhancement that has the stacking crit buff and the raw crit chance increase when not hitting weak points, and putting those 2 together would be absolutely nasty. So these have a lot of potential. That said, as far as we are currently aware, there is no dedicated drop source for any of these, which makes them relatively unique in that sense, but also quite rare as a result. This means that you can't really go out of your way to farm them in a specific manner. They just have a very low chance of appearing while you're playing the game in general, and farming pretty much anything else that you want to farm, which makes them a little bit more exciting, but it also makes it hard to make any plans around having a specific one of these at any point. That just about does it for today then, everyone. 10 strong, interesting, and cool legendaries in Borderlands 4, what they do, and how to get them. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and let me know if there's any other legendaries that you think are worth shouting out and sharing with the player base as a whole. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I'm the conductor of the poop train!
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.